Carolyn McCall, the Chief Executive of ITV. I'll admit I'm an actual massive fangirl because Carolyn's had the most incredible career journey. She's been the CEO of Guardian Media Group, EasyJet, and now ITV. And when I worked at ITV, her arrival brought kind of ripples of excitement through the business because she's a role model for kind of all genders and a woman who's really kind of smashed through the glass ceiling numerous times. So as we look to kind of shape our futures and abolish those fictions, who better to kind of help us with that than Carolyn? So Carolyn, welcome to Bloomfest. Thanks for taking the time to talk with us today. We're all really, really excited. We want to kind of
set your expectations.
We want to kind of know about your journey, kind of how you fought those fictions that have kind of got you here today. So I'm going to start with Imposter Syndrome. So, we all get it when kind of self-doubt kicks in and it kind of stops us in our tracks. So for you, has there kind of been a time in your career when you've thought, I just can't do this?
So the first thing I'll probably say a few contentious things. Are there media here? Is it being... Oh, yeah. Hello.
Just Nikki.
Right, well,
campaign.
I'm just going to... I can't... It's the thing that winds me up most in some ways about women and leadership and progression is this thing called the imposter syndrome.
Yep.
It just makes me mad because... I just don't hear men even discussing it.
Yeah.
And I find it really extraordinary that of course you have self-doubt.
Yep.
That's a human reaction to change
or
to doing something that you're not used to doing. So getting out of your comfort zone in any way. Of course you're going to go, oh my God, what am I doing? And I had a moment, I did get to EasyJet in particular. And on my third day, I turned around to the CFO who had started on the same day as me because the other two people had kind of... Well, for various reasons, they had walked out of the airline, right? The CEO and the CFO.
Started?
That's when I started in 2010. And I remember saying to Chris Kennedy, oh my God, what are we doing here?
Yeah.
It was, it had a lot of problems and we didn't know aviation, and you have to learn that quite quickly. And it was like, oh my God, what am I doing? And that's self-doubt. And it's good because it kind of spurs you on rather than sets you back. I mean, if you allow it to set you back, it will set you back. But there aren't blokes that go, oh, how does she do that? How does he do that? It just doesn't occur in their brains, and it shouldn't really, it shouldn't occur in anybody's brains about others.
Yeah.
The imposter syndrome is about other people. It's not really about you. So I feel very strongly that we should stop talking about this in terms of this is what women do. And it's like, why? Do you know, people have been saying this for 30 years about women and it's got to stop.
Yeah. So self-doubt can be men.
Self-doubt is good.
Yeah.
Otherwise you become arrogant and unpleasant and crap, right? So self-doubt and humility are important characteristics in any human being who wants to progress.
Yeah.
Because it means that you learn. It means that you think, I'm not perfect. I can't do it all myself. I need to talk to people. I need mentors. I need coaches. I need some help, right? Yeah. That's all good. But thinking, oh my God, they're all going to be doubting me.
Yeah.
It's not how the world works. People are not going around thinking that person is they're an imposter.
Yeah.
They just don't, people don't work like that.
It's a mindset shift, isn't it, really?
But it's in us, that if women don't have confidence that, one, they can stretch themselves and succeed or fail.
Being comfortable
it's not bad to do something and say, I got to EasyJet and I did it with my eyes open. I thought, I've got 24 years in media, and if I screw this up, I'll get another job. But I've got to take the step. And I could make a mistake. Now, I didn't mean a mistake about people's lives, right? Because it's safety business. No, it's a safety business. But I meant, if you make mistakes in business, you make mistakes. You learn from them. You move on.
I think there's that fear about kind of making mistakes in business at kind of such a senior level.
No, everyone's frightened of making mistakes. But I think that's why I heard Danielle talk about culture. And I think the culture of organisations is very, very important. It shouldn't be about blame.
Yeah.
It shouldn't be about humiliating people. It should be about nurturing people and allowing them to make mistakes. Now, if you make a mistake more than once, that becomes a bit irritating. Right? If you make the same mistake twice, then you're not learning.
Yeah.
But, if you're making a mistake and it's in genuine good faith, right? You're trying hard. People know you're trying hard. You should be allowed to make mistakes, because I've learned more from things that have not gone well than from things that go fantastically well.
What's not gone well for you that you've kind of learned from?
The day before the day after the referendum about the EU was probably the worst working day of my life. It was absolutely horrendous. I worked for a European airline. I mean, it's a British company, European airline. 50% of what it does is Europe. 50% of the staff in Luton are European, not British citizens. And it was catastrophic for us because, you lost all your flying rights in Europe as soon as we exited the EU. Now, we had a contingency plan and all of that, but I had to speak from 6:30 in the morning, I was talking to all my shareholders. I had to stand up in front of all my team, I had to go into Europe and tell them what was going on. I had to implement a contingency plan, which meant setting up an Austrian airline. The analysts, my share price dropped by 40% within 8 hours. It was horrendous. Really the worst day of my working life. But probably in terms of learning how to remain absolutely calm and rational and really getting my team together and buoying them up and making sure that all of us were lifting the organisation and not allowing, EasyJet people, I can't tell you, they were so low. It was just a horrible. EasyJet was born from the EU. It was born because of deregulation of the airlines. So it only exists because of deregulation of the EU. So it was very, very difficult for people within, regardless of political outlook. It didn't matter what their political outlook was. It was very important to the business.
I guess it was your role as the CEO to kind of lead them through that.
Yeah, no, and it was a really tough year. I mean, really. But, I learned so much. I got to, I had to go and meet governments right across Europe. I had to convince people, in the city, in the market, that our contingency plan was right. I had to bring people with me in the organisation. I had to move quickly, and set up this Austrian airline. I had to manage the Daily Mail, who were really unhappy. And there was literally a leader in the Daily Mail saying I'd betrayed my country. And, that was quite hard because, all we were doing was trying to protect the company, and allow it to continue to fly in 2019, 2020.
So we need to fail more, learn from our mistakes, but don't make the same mistake twice.
Well, I think, you might make the same mistake twice, but then you have to think why. And I think it's not just fail more, it's about succeed and fail. It's not being frightened of risk and mistakes. Because of what other people are going to think about you.
And how do you communicate that to your teams, kind of having that kind of safe environment that kind of failure or kind of mistakes, if you like, are okay?
I think actually it's not about what you say, it's about how you behave. So I think, when things have not gone well, it's how you then accept that and deal with that and manage that. And work with them. That matters. It's the behaviours rather than saying the words we accept. Failure is blah blah.
It's a cultural thing.
It's a cultural thing, and it I think takes time because people have to be absolutely convinced that you mean it. That actually this is the way of working. Rather than a kind of nice corporate principle.
Yeah. Brilliant. The next one I've got on here is about the secret self. So this concept's being explored today in kind of one of our panel sessions. Like, have you ever felt the need to kind of hide anything about you or kind of what's going on in your life in the workplace?
Well, I think everyone has private lives, and I think that my privacy is important to me in that I don't want, when I was at EasyJet, I was not allowed to be on Facebook or Twitter. Right. Because if something had gone wrong, the first thing anyone would do in the media would be to look at all your social feeds.
Right.
And then the extrapolation of what you might do in your private life when you're having a very nice time with your family or you're on holiday, juxtaposed with something that was quite... So it taught me actually that there is a private life and there is a work life. On the other hand, I don't have any secrets. that I wouldn't. I don't have a secret. I mean, I'm quite open.
Yeah.
Well, I'm very open, I think, and I'm very trusting, and I will. You know, it won't. It doesn't. If something's happening in my family, one of my kids is not well. I'm in my second day at ITV. My son was rushed to hospital with appendicitis. He's 16. It was quite difficult that, you know, he had to go to Watford Hospital. It was just all a bit of a nightmare. Well, I didn't hide that. I just said to people, look, I'm going to have to go and see my son. He's in hospital. I've got to rush to hospital. Some people might have tried to put on because it was their second day at work and, you know, you're the CEO.
Yeah.
You know, I wouldn't, that's not a kind of secret life I would have. I think you just have to face into stuff and you've got to know your priorities and you've got to, so I don't really have a secret life. I think it's very different to say secret life and a private life. And they're two different things. So I've never been interested in doing interviews in magazines or newspapers that are about my personal life.
I guess it's more just about bringing your whole self kind of into the workplace.
I mean, I bring what I'm into. Yeah. I always do that. I just don't. I think you've got to get to know people well.
Yeah.
And you know, part of that is, you know, being yourself. I think you have to be yourself. So I'm no different from. I still keep in touch with loads of people who were at The Guardian when I was ad manager, then ad director, then MD, then CEO. You know, my Guardian, there's a diaspora of Guardian people right around the industry. And they would say, I think they would absolutely say I'm the same person at EasyJet as I was at ITV, as I was at The Guardian or GMG. I don't think you change yourself in any way for the companies you go to.
Yeah. And I guess you're kind of always on as a CEO. Like, how do you maintain that kind of energy and momentum kind of all the time? Like, do you ever have like off days where you just kind of want to sit and binge watch ITV?
ITV, obviously, binge watch ITV. Do you know, I don't, I think everyone has days that are not so good, like off days. Everyone must have off days. And my daughter's, you know, I mean, there are days you want a duvet day, right? You just want to, but I don't do that. I mean, I just don't do that. And I also find, one, I think you have to love what you do. And two, I think you have to work in a culture that is a good culture so that it lifts you rather than deflates you or drains you. And I think what Daniel said, I mean, I have spent all my working life, as soon as I got into a position where I could influence culture, I said when I was a group head at The Guardian that I wanted my team to come back from holiday looking forward to coming back into work because they like the people they work with, they like the product they work on, they believe in what they're doing, and they can have a bit of a laugh. And I've always believed that. So no matter how shit it gets, you know, and in those black days of 2016, the kind of black humor of EasyJet people really got us through. It was a team. We were kind of bonded and we could sometimes laugh at some of the really awful things that we were having to kind of navigate through. And I think it's really important to like what you do a lot and to like and I think Daniel's right. I do say this a lot to women in particular, is really like the culture. And because you can change lots of things as an individual, but you can't change the culture of a whole organization. So if it does not feel right for you, unless you are the CEO or the CFO or someone, you know, you have to be in a position where you can lead the culture. But if you're not, and you don't like the culture, and you feel it's not you, move. Absolutely move. It's one of my top tips, I would say. One, find something you really enjoy doing, because you're going to be doing it for quite a long time, hopefully. And two, move if you're not happy with the culture. So, because a lot of women say to me, but I'm just going to wait till I have my first baby. And I say, that's the worst time. You know, it's the worst time to think about moving. Because if the culture's not right, when you don't have a child, it amplifies it for you when you do. Because actually what you will need from that culture is more flexibility, being able to ask for what you need, being comfortable enough in that culture to say, actually, I just need this for this period of time, and I'll be able to do that. And if you can't do that, then it becomes really hard.
Talking about the myth of a difficult woman. So we often hear kind of strong women labelled as a kind of bitch in the boardroom. which
I don't hear that.
kind of totally undermines that kind of positive kind of female leadership. Like, how would you define your leadership style as you've kind of risen through the ranks?
Well, firstly, right, I mean, again, this is a bit like the imposter thing. It's kind of awful for women to be talking about bitches in the boardroom. I mean, firstly, I think that's just awful because you don't have a male equivalent. Right?
No, there isn't.
There's just not a male equivalent for that. So no one goes around going, you know, what's the equivalent? I don't even know what the equivalent would be.
Well, they're just called men. They're just called leaders. Whereas women are called, look at the way that they're behaving. I personally, as a woman, don't want to perpetuate the conversation about that, okay? First, I think, you know, women as men, there might be women, you know, there will be women who are not as supportive or as nurturing or as developmental, you know, believe in development for other people, not just women, as others. But there will also be hundreds of men. So I'm not saying it's right or wrong. I'm just saying, you know, it's just a myth. You just don't want to continue to keep repeating because actually what you want all leaders to do is to develop talent, to be gender blind, to be color blind, to promote on merit, but to actually make sure that the structure and culture, and I use structure advisedly, that you can't just have a culture that is nurturing and diverse and fair. Yeah. You have to have structures in place so that you are measuring that you're making progress on gender balance, on gender pay gap, on BAME, on all those things need structure as well as culture. Yeah. And you need leaders to do that. And it's not, you know, just because, I mean, anyway, I just think, you know, it's not about men and women on that. You just need all of us to be focused on that, right? Yeah. And it's not about bitches and whatever the equivalent is. It's about making sure that the leaders that are enlightened and are looking forward and are nurturing of their people are winning. Yeah. And how
5 minute countdown.
5 minute? No way. I've got so many. Oh my goodness.
Doesn't matter.
Ageism. So we found that kind of women in the media can experience this narrow window of time when they're either kind of too young to succeed or kind of too old to be relevant. Like, have you ever felt that you were kind of too young?
So I know this is true. So I've not experienced it. I mean, I've experienced quite a lot of misogyny in my time. Yeah. And I, you know, my way of dealing with it is just to prove that you can do it, right? Is to say, literally to say, fuck it. You know, I didn't read any of the newspapers when I moved to EasyJet. Everyone was like, oh my God, you know, it's just, they're all saying you don't know anything about aviation. I was like, yeah, I think they knew that when they recruited me. Yeah. You know, so I just didn't read all of it because I just thought it's only going to be depressing. So all I can do is show why I can do the job rather than why listen to all the noise. Because I think if you listen to all the noise, it's, you know.
So feeds into the gremlin.
It does feed a bit into the, you know, into the thing. So, yeah,
So no. Trade-offs. So the higher you climb, the more you kind of, you know, the more you get up, the more you have to compromise. Like, what have you had to compromise to get where you are today?
Can I just go back a minute? Just because all of you are will be interested in this. You know, there's going to be an exhibition called Empowering Women, which is going to be in, Karen knows all about it sitting here because we're both on the steering group, which is about 100 years of women having the vote. And it is about images of women. Yeah. In the media and in advertising. And it's an exhibition of, it is amazing. The images that they've got, some of it are hilarious. It's really worth going to see. And we should send around to all of you an invitation. And then there's lots of events taking place and you'll be able to be invited to lots of events. And it is quite interesting to see how women are portrayed and how they are currently portrayed and what a way we have still to go, actually. Yeah. And ageism comes up there. Right. And there's going to be, there was a whole load of research about women just becoming invisible after about the age of 45, actually. Correct, yeah. And it's quite scary, actually. And it doesn't happen to men. It's not a male phenomena. So actually that is going to be quite a big topic, and Loose Women are going to be broadcasting from there. Excellent. And they're going to debate this whole topic about ageism and body image and all of that, or not body image, female portrayal. Get involved in that. That's quite interesting.
Brilliant. Yeah. So what have you had to compromise to get where you are today?
So there's a lot now, isn't there? There are a lot of books about having it all and all of that and the whole Shirley Conran thing. And, you know, I don't know what any of you think, and I'd love to take a kind of poll because it would be interesting for me to hear from you guys, because many of you are in your 20s and 30s rather than my generation. I never have thought of it like that. I don't think that the concept of having it all, to me, doesn't really exist. I mean, I don't think anybody lives their lives thinking, oh, I want to have it all. You know, I just think I've always liked to work.
Yep.
My family is unbelievably important to me, and my friends are very important to me. I'm an only child. My friendships are really important to me.
Yeah.
And somehow I make the three work. And it's never, ever been for me about what I have to give up or what I have to lose or what I have to, you know, if I say to my kids, you know, it gets very stressy. I've got 3 teenagers, and some days I just think, oh my God. And I say to Emmy, my daughters, particularly I've got 2 boys and a girl, and I say to Emmy, right, what do you want? Do you want me to give up work? And she goes, oh God, no. No, because she knows I'd be giving her such a hard time at home. If I had more time.
Yeah, you'd be in her life
home,
more.
I'd be, well, I'm in her life a lot. But I'd be prodding her.
Yeah.
I'd be saying, have you done this? Have you done that? Where's this? Where's that?
Yeah.
You know, and I don't tend to do that. I mean, I do a bit of that. But so I think you just find your equilibrium.
You found a balance.
Well, you and it's individual.
Yeah.
No one can tell you whether you can, what does that mean?
Yeah.
You know, some of you might want to work and have children. Some of you might not. You choose to have a break. I mean, I hope more women work through, have their maternity leave, but I hope they come back to work, because otherwise we'll never have more senior women in leadership.
Yeah.
Because we lose women, loads and loads of women in their mid-30s when they get their first really senior job.
Yeah.
And they think, oh God, you know, I think this is a bit too hard. So I want women to can I just take a poll? Do you think that the concept of having it all is relevant today? I mean, yes or no? Yes, put your hands up. Right.
I would like to have it all.
Yeah. No, but no, what I'm trying to say is that concept, which is the Shirley Conran image was, she had all these plates spinning and she could do it all brilliantly. She was super.
I guess it's your definition of brilliance, isn't it? It's kind of like, I want to be able to feel like I can do it all and kind of achieve to the best of my ability.
Yeah, to the best of your ability, and to match your vision of your life, what you want your life to be.
Yeah. I think we're on a 1-minute countdown, so I'm just going to ask. So thinking about kind of female characters on TV, who do you most admire or think is a good role model?
So there's not one character. I mean, I think the most important thing for me is to have a range of different women characters, so that you don't have a pigeonhole. You know, I love Helen Mirren in Prime Suspect, but you know, she's an alcoholic who never has a relationship, who has this terrible kind of personal life, and I think to myself, oh my God, you know, that's one portrayal, and she's brilliant in it. And then you see Bodyguard, which actually ITV produced, brilliant hit on the BBC, but ITV produced it, which is great for telly. So I'm happy about that. Great for TV. But you know, she was a flawed character, but a powerful character. Good, you know. Nicola Walker in Unforgotten. I love Nicola Walker, and I was quite pleased at the end of this series that she finds love, which is quite nice because she's obviously divorced. Yeah. So I like the kind of to have a range of both diversity, both kind of different kinds of lives, not just always the very angst-ridden, you know, divorced female who has problems. That's what I think. If you perpetuate that, and these are usually women who are doing hard jobs, who are portrayed like, then that's probably not the only thing you want to portray. So it's the range of women in these kind of great roles that is important. And I want more diversity. I mean, we are very, very focused on on-screen BAME talent in particular.
Yes.
And we're making some progress, but probably not enough.
Brilliant. Well, look forward to seeing that. I think we have to wrap up, unfortunately. I mean, I could have gone on for hours more. I've got loads of questions.
She wrote more? Can I just show you?
No, Carolyn, don't.
And I came and I was like, what's all that?
I'll tell you what I'll do.
I said, are they the answers
Carolyn,
as well?
I'll email them to you, and then we'll get your answers for a blog post. Thank you very much.
Pleasure.
Thank you. Thank you.